Hey guys, it's Vincent Jade here, creative partners at Today the Brave. Firstly, thanks so much for your submissions to the practice brief. Some really good work there. But also, we thought, just looking at the brief again, it's not an easy brief. Like there's a clear proposition, but there's no clear single-minded benefit. So it's quite broad, but what that brings with it is the opportunity to sort of attack that brief from different angles. So what we thought we'd do today is sort of just take you through some of the approaches Jade and I use when we're tackling a creative brief, and hopefully that'll help you or inspire you to look at that brief differently and come back with different responses.
Yeah, like what you say, thanks a lot for all the submissions. Every team has their own process, and there's probably 100 other ways of tackling a brief, but this is kind of our tried and tested approach. A lot of this is not going to be groundbreaking, but sometimes it's just good to hear some solid theory to remind you of how to approach a brief. The very first thing is research. It doesn't matter what it is, whether it's a new brand of chips or if it's in this case a drink. Go out to the shops, get the drink, try it, explore the places that it's served in. Where is it being sold? Is it being sold in high-end bars and clubs? Is it being served at speakeasies? Is it being sold at your local retailer like a Woolies or something like that?
And I suppose just to that point, what that also helps you do is sort of explore the packaging, because there might be some clues to the solution of the brief in the packaging itself. And StrangeLove is one of those brands where the packaging, a lot of thought's gone into the package.
It gives you a clear idea of the tone as well. And also, I suppose what research does is helps you distinguish between your tone and the competitors. Researching competition is almost just as important as understanding the brand. How are other brands speaking in the same space? You don't want crossover. The whole point of the creative brief is to try and create distinction and create your own lane. So understanding what competitors are saying is always just important, because you don't want to be repeating the same story or at worst the same idea. So after research, the next obvious kind of protocol is insights. And the great thing about the previous step is you've probably by now, if you've done your research and you've been chatting to people, you're probably already starting to build up a bank of insights. And what we like to do is almost create categories of insights. So, and go broad at first. Go as many as possible. This is all going to be about self-filtering down the line, but start big. Particularly in a creative team, you should feel comfortable enough to have stupid ideas, have stupid insights, you will get to the self-filtering phase, but start big, go broad. And you start building your ideas below those insights.
I think just to that point, like sometimes the best thing to do is get the silly or stupid ideas out of your mind onto your page. That way it's sort of like I think there's something cathartic in that anyway. It's just, regardless of what you think about that idea, put it on a page, even if it's a picture, if it's a sketch, if it's a line of copy, put it on a page and put it up somewhere.
Yeah, it's such a good point, because I think what we found in the years working together, if you don't get that stupid idea out your head, it's never going to leave your head, and it's going to keep working in the background, and it's going to pop up sooner or later. So you might as well just get it out, and who knows, it might spark an interesting conversation. It might, the amount of times where it's a stupid idea, with the right amount of like combative conversation in brainstorming, like it could lead somewhere. So yeah, don't hide them. I guess on the brief, like when we've been talking about insights into this, we obviously know the product's a little bit better, but I think you guys, a lot of you have actually got some really strong insights that came through in the work, and insights we've definitely been exploring in the past. Like I was saying before, we take our insights and put them up in almost like pillars so that we could work ideas below them. So insights like, when you think about StrangeLove, it's a really high-end premium mixer. They go to great lengths to ensure that the quality of the ingredients in the product is exceptional. And because of that product truth, it's probably going to make every drink better, hence the proposition. But there's something really funny in the fact that even the worst alcohol to some point gets better. And that's a really fun insight to play with. And I think one or two of you actually did touch on that. Yeah, there's something really fun in that territory of bad drinks getting better. And there's some iconically bad drinks out there in Australian bars and clubs, particularly drank at like 3 o'clock in the morning. So you could probably have a lot of fun in that insight. A tactic that we use quite often is actually flipping the proposition on its head. Trying to, when you land on an insight, see if you can twist it a little bit. Like, the idea of, bad alcohol, can be improved with StrangeLove is great. But the opposite is also true. A bad mixer can ruin a good drink. And it feels like there's a really strong insight there too. You go to great lengths to order, this really good whiskey or really good vodka or tequila, whatever it may be, and then you go fuck it up with, straight, Coca-Cola or something like that.
Yeah, and I think if you start to play with that insight, you start looking at so what are the really expensive drinks, for example. Let's say it's a Grey Goose vodka. So what does a bad mixer do to Grey Goose vodka? Well, you can start having fun with the actual logo on a Grey Goose bottle, or the name. If it changes as Grey Goose to Grey Chicken or whatever it is. It's a lot of fun to be had in just flipping that proposition on its head.
Yeah, there could also be more emotionally led insights. Does it make you feel a little better to be drinking a high-end mixer? Does it make you feel a little bit more fancy? Probably has been fairly well trodden, so you have to have a really good execution to kind of separate it.
I think just on the well trodden thing, I think it's also the insight that your mixer is probably like 80% of your drink.
Yeah.
Like that's a really well trodden insight, but it's a really good insight. So a lot of people, it's 80% of your drink, so why are you using a really standard mixer? So if we are going to use that insight, you've got to be really hard on yourself on how you actually bring that idea to life. What's the execution so it doesn't feel familiar?
I think, to our point earlier on, at this point, you're just trying to get runs on the board. Just get your insights out on a page. Yes, some of them are going to feel familiar, but insights have to be true. And if they're true, they're going to appear again and again and again. But that's the beauty of your idea and execution that's going to come next, and that's what's going to separate your work from everybody else's. So post insights, it's down to taking those insights for a test drive. Your insights are essentially just your starting points to the idea.
Observations.
Yeah, they're observations into ultimately what's going to become your creative idea. And you'll quickly realize which insights have depth, which ones are going to give you a lot of runs on the board. You should be getting, you don't have to put a number to it, but let's just say you should be getting more than just 2 or 3 ideas below an insight. That's when you'll feel like, okay, there's a lot of legs here. I can take this insight and look at it from different angles. Something to keep thinking about in the back of your mind is the difference between an idea and an execution. It's probably one of the first traps people fall into, because when you see advertising, when you see creative work out there, you're seeing the output, and that it can be easy to misconstrue that as the idea. What is the idea behind the execution? An idea isn't one output. An idea can be multiple things. The same idea can be expressed in radio, in out of home, in film, or a social media post. They're all expressions of the same idea. The more ideas you've got up there, the more you've got more fodder to have a conversation about. You've got more things to kind of debate and figure out what's working in some ideas versus others. Why is a more visual approach working better for this idea, where a really pithy headline is working better for that idea? What if we swap the approaches of those 2 ideas? The more you can kind of twist and try to take ideas in different directions, the stronger they become. The kind of last bit is You've gone through this entire process, but something you've got to do, I suppose, intermittently, but right at the end, most importantly, is go back to the brief, go back to the proposition and stress test them. Like, be honest with yourself and go, does each of these ideas, do each of these ideas answer that proposition of improving any drink? And you'll quickly then find that your 10 great ideas has been whittled down to just a handful, which is a normal part of the process.
Yeah, so hopefully that helped you guys, just figure out a couple of different ways into this brief. Like we said, it's not an easy brief. Absolute simplicity is probably the hardest thing to do in advertising. But good luck, and looking forward to seeing some more submissions soon.